your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan, Dr. D, Reverend Dr. D, and thank you so much for joining us here on the program that brings you new paradigms for a new world. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices. And with us today, returning for the 4th time, I don't know if you remember, but Emmett Miller is my guest. And thank you so much for being back with us. I have always enjoyed our conversations, but also your background. You've got this incredible waterfall for those who are watching on YouTube. If you're not, go to YouTube. That's flowing down and all of the greenery. It's just gorgeous and so relaxing. Thank you so much for being with us again.
It's good to be here. Thanks a lot.
You are a life coach. You are doing a lot of different things in your that you have done in your career. You also deal with the concept of self-healing, and also you have a toolbox that is filled with what you call mind tools. We'll talk about that shortly. One of the things that I wanted to talk with you about is a topic that came up during another interview, and we didn't get a chance to go into it, so I want to go into it with you. Now, some people might interpret this, and I'll use the word that everybody really hates, change, which of course is the constant in the universe. And I thought, well, I'm not a big fan of changing words, just to accommodate people, in terms of the quote unquote political correctness. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with to me, it's very real, but it puts it in a realm of positivity, optimism, growth, expansion. And those are things I know that a lot of people do like. That has to do on the metaphysical and spiritual levels with divine flow. So instead of calling it change, which divine flow is, it's allowing ourselves to be carried. But it's not a question of I'm being carried against my will. No, we choose to be carried. And in a manner of speaking, it isn't even a question of choice, I would say, because we're always moving. The universe is always moving in flow. Electricity is flowing through those wires. The signal for Wi-Fi is always flowing and so forth. Talk to us about your perspective on the term that I'm going to start using is divine flow.
Okay. Well, I think when we're talking about flow, we're talking about the sentient universe, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what the weather's going to be. And it's like my waterfalls here is that those waterfalls are happening because of rain that took place 3 days ago, far upstream. And it took place because nobody came along and built a dam in the river between there and now. And now it's flowing over. So that everything that's happening in this moment, in this instant, right now, is the result of what was happening 1 instant ago. And that happened because of 1 instant before that. And so that there are things that are moving through our lives, and we experience them as change. We experience them as change because we had a picture in our mind of how we thought things worked. We had a picture in our mind of what was going to happen tomorrow. Just like some folks went out on a little boat on Lake Tahoe. I think there were 27 people or something on there last week in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the summer here, and all of a sudden, wow, there was a kind of a storm that picked up and blew over the ship and killed all except I think one of the people that were on it in the middle of the placid lake in the middle of the summer.
Mm.
You know, well, if you look back at the weather maps, you can see where the storm was brewing 10 minutes ago or an hour ago or 3 hours ago. And so it's not really a change. It's just a continuation of the flow that's there. We as human beings have these huge egos, and we think that things are supposed to happen the way that we want them to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that in some fashion that we can control those things that are going to happen. So all the folks down at Jonestown drank the Kool-Aid
Mm-hmm.
with the belief that they would die and be picked up by the mothership.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, I don't have any recollection of anyone seeing the mothership, but they sure had a lot of dead bodies lying around.
Yeah.
And so we can do that, and we're so eager to avoid dealing with change and the first cousin of change, which is conflict. Because when we experience what we think is change and we are resistant to it, that's because there's a conflict inside.
Mm.
And this is the way we thought it was going to be, or this is the way we wanted it to be, but it looks like this is the way it's come out. And there's a conflict between two. Okay, so you have an idea. Ah, it should have been this, but it's this. Well, it's no problem, except that always on guard is the monkey mind, the limbic
Mm.
system, this unconscious part of our brain that evolved a few million years ago to warn us of life or death situations. And so it looks on and it sees us saying, there's a conflict between these two ideas. A conflict, conflict. Okay, bring on the corticoids, bring on the adrenaline, pump up the blood pressure. Let's get some cortisol flowing through the body, which basically dissolves the organs of the body to turn them into sugar so that we can fight like hell for 5 or 10 minutes. Except that we're constantly fighting against the changes that are going on around us. And we're constantly being assaulted by the media, by advertisers, all of whom are telling us that terrible things are happening or terrible things are just about to happen. And the reason they do that is because it sells product. That's what it is. If someone came out and said, the world was really spectacular for the last several days, and some really beautiful things happened. We're going to report on that. Nothing sells.
Yeah.
Mark Twain said that a lie makes its way all the way around the world before the truth can get its pants on.
I have never heard that and I love it. I love it. And
And
that
it's
sounds like Mark.
so, but so we resist all of that. And in my work, and I work as a life coach now, but it comes from 60 years of practicing medicine, psychiatry, and psychology,
Mm,
of really helping create the concept of holistic medicine and mind-body medicine back in the early 70s. And my take on it was my early recommendation that I don't know, 70, 80, 90% of all of our illnesses, injuries, and miseries are the result of traumas that we've had in our lives that lead us to make the wrong decisions. And because of those wrong decisions, we end up being addicted to this. We end up saying something we shouldn't have said. We end up eating things that we shouldn't have eaten. We end up being in stress all the time, creating a huge number of stress produced and stress exacerbated diseases. And we're treated by a medical system that basically treats the symptoms
mm.
of disease. That's really, it always says on the bottle, if this continues, symptomatic treatment, if it doesn't work, call your doctor, and your doctor gives you a different, more poisonous uh, treatment, which will work on the symptoms. But uh, I noticed that it had a lot to do with how people are thinking and living their lives. And so we learn very early in our lives to be afraid of the world. Ideally, we grow up in a family that's incredibly loving. We feel we're treated as though we're the most wonderful being that's ever come on the planet. There's this mother who'll do anything for us, this doting father who loves the mother without, completely, fully, and totally, and unconditionally. And that's the world we experience for several years. And that's what we're designed to have. Because if the cave woman didn't really, really love her children, she'd have thrown them over the cliff when they were 6 months old and wouldn't shut up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But how much you had to really love that infant. You didn't have books to tell you anything, but something said, no, no, this is a really worthwhile thing. Well, we don't get to have that in our lives because our mothers have to go back to work after 3 weeks. And so we don't have a mother then. And we end up being with someone who doesn't respond to our emotional needs in the way our mother would. And we feel abandoned. And when we feel abandoned as infants or children, it's it's intolerable to face that I've been abandoned because I don't know about that future exists. I just know this is forever. No one's answered my cries in 5 minutes, and so I guess this is it for the rest of time. I can't handle it, so I'll get sleepy and fall asleep. Or I'll get furious and tear up my crib. Or I'll take my milk and I'll drink it and drink it and drink it and I'll eat everything I possibly can. Or I'll be the perfect child and get A's in every subject and then I'll be loved. I mean, this is what goes on at the monkey level. And so we pick up these patterns of responding to the world as children and as infants and as children. And as we grow older, we still have those patterns. And so we look at the people we run into in life. This person can't stand to hear this. This person has to drink this. This person hates someone who doesn't agree with them, and so forth and so forth. And people have all of these attitudes in their society. The people cut off their relationships because they don't treat each other well. And then they are alone and they suffer from being alone. Loneliness itself cuts off the telomeres on the ends of our chromosomes, and we die more rapidly and we get sick more rapidly.
Mm,
And we experience stress when we have to deal with difficult things in our lives. And ever since propaganda and advertising, the tricks of advertising were introduced by Edward Bernays back in the early part of last century, then the people who market things to us realize all they need to do to sell things to us is to make us feel anxious. Or, as I said, newspapers will write these terrible things to keep you interested. And you have conspiracy therapists who theorists who develop theorists who try to scare you and tell you how terrible things are going to be because you will keep reading it because it awakens the monkey mind. And the monkey mind says, gotta be on guard. Oh, here's another message. Oh, another message from the front. What's this and what's that? And so we're all living with that. A lot of times we suppress the anxiety, the anger, the fury, the resentment, the suspicion, all of those feelings, we can suppress them. They just come out in our bodies as diseases. Or else we actually feel those emotions. And maybe we beat up people. Maybe we fire people because of that. Maybe we're a racist or cannot, I mean, and now if you don't live in the if you don't have the right color, blue or red, then you won't be able to survive in certain neighborhoods. I mean, the neighbors just shun you if you don't have the right political orientation.
Mm.
And and where did that come from? It was beautiful with our Newt Gingrich, who came out with a textbook, and people studied this, how to treat Democrats. Whenever you're talking about the Democrats, use the word sick, demented, disgusting. You know, just lists
Yeah.
of terrible words so that people who now heard people talking about heard the same words over and over and over again, this announcer and this commentator and this newspaper, and they began to associate those words with Democrats.
Hmm.
And of course, that's been brought up to a maximum now where the congressman won't even sit on the same side of the room as somebody with you're kidding me? These are adults or are these kindergarten children?
Yeah.
But it is that kindergarten mind, it is that monkey mind that has been programmed to resist and to not see that that's a beautiful human being over there. Yeah, they have a different idea about equality and diversity. But maybe they have something good. Maybe there's a real reason for them to think about it in that way. And maybe if you knew that person's reasons, you would complain, hey, if I'd been through it, I would feel the same way you did. And now hearing you, it makes me understand you and makes me understand the concept in a way I didn't see before.
Hmm.
And that's the way the higher level of the mind is supposed to deal with the world, the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex, the brilliant part of us. But
Yeah.
we don't use that. We react from our gut and we resist. Okay. And so what I found, and people would just come to see me who suspected that maybe their mind had something to do with their illness. What I worked with is for the first 10 or 20 years, most of the people I saw, I guided into a deep state of hypnosis because when a person is in a deep state of hypnosis, then that person can consciously control their emotions.
Mm.
And so it's possible to guide that person back to that point in their life where they learn to have this attitude or this prejudice or this fear. And they can look at that event and realize the feelings that were brought up, but they have the ability to quiet those feelings,
Yeah.
to see that child as a child and to realize that, yeah, mom's gotten separated from you in the safe way, but she's going to be back. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it's okay that there are all these strange people around you. And that people could reprogram program their minds. I had been a computer programmer before I went to medical school. And so I recognized when I got to psychiatry that the brain works pretty much, at least that unconscious part of the mind works like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And most people have their computer is programmed the wrong way. It's why the world is how it is. It's why you notice that we're sort of moonwalking into a nuclear confrontation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody's still singing their songs and eating their Clark bars and trying to
Yeah.
find out how to
Yeah.
save money on gasoline. And
Yeah.
wait a minute, what's going on? Well, so basically, this is a disease, not a disease, but it's a failure that we had a brain that worked perfectly in the world that we had 100,000 years ago and further back,
Mm-hmm.
where the only emergencies were life or death. You responded to it with stress and you won or you died. If
Right.
you died, forget it. If you won, the first thing you did after you won, after 5 minutes of vigorous battle, yeah, won that one. That was great.
Yeah.
Now let me go eat some grass. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Not continuous stress, but as the world has put more and more continuous stress on people, then we have lost the balance within ourselves. And so we can no longer see reality. That's the purpose of advertisers. That's the purpose of what politicians do for us. They don't want us to do what's best for us. They want us to do what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they create what's called learned helplessness. And so we're feeling helpless. Now, there's a way that you cannot feel helpless. Um, for instance, there was a really good friend of mine that I played music with for 10 or 15 years. I got a call last night that person's died.
Mm.
Boom. And we were supposed to be playing music next week. Yeah, in fact, there's a group of people who were playing with us and so forth. And this guy was my friend. So there's a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel sadness. But, he died because he had an illness that had not been treated properly before that. So it's a surprise to me, but it's completely in the flow of the universe.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't make it easier, but
in time it does, because if you it's true, and okay, I'll let myself feel the feelings, and I'll shed a tear, I'll cry, I'll call some mutual friends, and I'll commiserate with them and be in that grieving state of sadness for a while, but it won't stay on for long. It comes and it goes. But now, if I drink alcohol to block myself from feeling the sadness, or if something happens and I feel angry, but I feel like I don't dare say anything, so I block off the anger. This is what creates the disease within ourselves. It increasingly throws our mental balance off, and then we make poor decisions in our life. Because when we are at a high level of stress, and most people are, at a high level of stress. You listen now to interviews. Well, we have so and so, but they refuse to give us their name because they're afraid of retaliation.
mm-hmm.
They're afraid the boss is going to retaliate, that the cops are going to retaliate, that the government's going to retaliate against them. Because people are living in this fear. And when you're in a fear state, that's a state of activity of the monkey mind. And what that does
Mm.
is it turns off your higher mind. You cannot think with your wisdom. You cannot occupy your spiritual beliefs. You can't touch into your deeper values in life because the function of your higher brain is actually turned off by the same chemicals that are creating the feelings of stress within your body.
Mm.
So that when you quiet your mind and you quiet your body and come into the only thing that we can really, really know, which is this moment,
Mm.
this is the only thing that we can fully know. We can't know yesterday. We have something we call a memory of yesterday. But as they've shown in so many trials, you have four eyewitnesses. Everyone has a different story. And
Mm-hmm.
yet you saw the same thing. Who's right? Each one has his own story. It's right for it. So you can't know the past, and it doesn't exist anyway, and can never exist again.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't know the future because it's never happened. The only thing that you can know is your breathing, that your eyes are seeing certain colors, and that you can feel the surface underneath you. But
Mm.
usually we don't pay attention to those things. And so when a person meditates, when they pray, or further on than prayer is meditation, then you become that person who becomes very quiet and in the moment. Okay, so I felt my anger and I've gotten through it. I've gotten through the sadness in the morning for that person. Now I go back to a place of peace. Now that I'm quiet, my higher mind can tell me, you know, what you ought to do is write a song for this guy. You know, his family would love to hear it and all the things that you know about him. All of a sudden I'm turned on. I'm excited
Mm.
because I can do something of value to the world that exists rather than to struggle against the world that is no more or create an enemy out of the future that's about to come on. So that to me is being with the divine flow.
Mm.
It's not the gale, but the set of the sail that determines where your ship goes. And always when people are able to get into the flow, whether it's the flow of the, I don't know, Oklahoma City basketball team who got in the flow and, cleaned up, it's because you come into that moment. You come into the moment, you be at peace with the moment. You accept the world exactly as it is
Mm-hmm.
and accept yourself exactly as you are at this moment in time.
Absolutely. Dr. Miller, Dr. Emmett Miller is my guest. Drmiller.com's the website. That's DRMILLER.com. And we'll be linked to that website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D, and we're talking about the divine flow with Dr. Emmett Miller, who is a life coach. He's got a lot of things to share with us here on the program. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
you have since 19, I was 12 years old when you were doing this. You've published several books called, one of them, Deep Healing, The Essence of Mind Body Medicine. And you've also created a large library of audio recordings, which are available through your website. And we can talk about that as well. This aspect of healing is fascinating to me, especially when we talk about the flow, the divine flow.
Mhm.
As a Reiki master, I was taught in the training that it is, first of all, it is not my energy that I am sending out
Mhm.
to the person, whether
Mhm.
it be in person or absentee, or
Yeah.
this or situation, which also was interesting, that
Mhm.
you can actually send Reiki to a situation
Mhm.
and and just wait and see what happens. But the other thing was that you did not place any intention on that energy that was flowing through you too, because it wasn't up to you. It was
Mhm.
up to the divine. So you're
Mhm.
letting that divine energy flow through
Yeah.
you. And then, of course, I sit there going, well, wait a minute. Why does the divine energy, why does it need me? Why doesn't it just go to this person, and do its thing, or the person um, then um, uh, chooses how they're going to use that energy. Like my father's brother, who after my wife and I sent him an absentee healing, he died. And at the funeral, my mother tells me all of the things that went on, after he had received that absentee healing. And I thought, well, yeah, but he's in the coffin. He's dead. What? And at the time, it was like, well, where the heck is the healing? And recently, it dawned on me. A friend of
Mm.
ours also passed away from leukemia. And you hear the phrase all the time. Oh, they succumbed to, they lost their battle with.
Yes.
And the thing that struck me at that moment that was given to me was, no, they didn't. They didn't lose anything. As a matter of fact, whether you have or don't have a dis-ease due to the stresses, if we want to use that as the catapult, you can't lose, because if it goes into remission and goes away, guess what? In this world, you've won. Okay. But if your body ceases to function, you still won because you're free of that body. My father, case in point, he was diagnosed 5 days before his passing with early onset dementia and Parkinson's. Now, I know my father well enough to know that he would have hated to have lived any longer with those conditions. And I believe he made the choice to leave. And he
Hmm.
won. He won. So I've asked this question of many people. Okay, so then is healing the wrong word here, or do we need to change the definition of the word healing?
Hmm.
Emmett?
Yeah. Healing, it comes from an old English word that means whole. In fact, it has the same root, heal and whole, heal or holy.
Mm-hmm.
And that wholeness um, is that every entity, like me as a human being, for me to be whole, then I need for my blood pressure. If my blood pressure is at the right level, if I'm getting the right kind of food, if I'm getting the kind of exercise, then my body will reach its, I would say, maximum ability to express itself. I'll have energy. I'll be intelligent instead of being logy. And there's more wholeness. It's more wholeness if a family has a big argument and they split up and they won't speak to each other anymore. A lot of my work I do with couples, with families, and there's people who are furious with each other. And as soon as they can individually be quieted, learn that's not helpful for them to be overwrought, they can come together and see each other again and love each other again. And now that family is more whole. And so that's healing, and when I have my piano and a good song, I feel more whole. I sing my song and I just, no matter what I was feeling 5 minutes ago. So so there is a notion of what is whole, what is complete. And uh, an ecological community, or when you have the top level predators and then you have the bottom level food source and everything is in between, it works beautifully. You kill off the predators, you throw the whole system out of balance, and that ecosystem is not in balance. So the healing is that wholeness. Now, and I may not want to die. I want to live. I live. But the point is that if I continue to live, although I don't know it, I'm going to be miserable, because to have dementia and have enough of your brain to know that you're demented is excruciating,
Mm.
where you want to say something, but you cannot find the word. In fact, you can't find words to put a single sentence together, and yet the message is there, and there's something important you want to. That's awful. So if a person comes in for a healing And if they die that night, that is a healing because to live for another year in utter torture
Mm.
would not, it's not wholeness.
Yeah.
So I think you're right in that way. But further, now what can we do other than channel the energy that's coming through us? Either we can, for our own little selfish purposes, be angry or mean or to feel resentment or whatever that's going on because of this monkey mind, because those feelings do not feel good. They do not help you accomplish anything in the world. They get in the way of your accomplishing things. They make you physically sick. They actually make you die sooner. It's been demonstrated now that stress knocks off the ends of those chromosomes, the telomeres, and so you do die earlier. So all those things are bad with those feelings that we're generating. And not only that, but we're also sealing off our ability to think at a higher abstract level because our problems are not simple. It's simple like a saber-toothed tiger is coming in through the window and there's a spear.
Hmm.
Solution is simple. Take spear, stab lion.
Hmm.
Ah, okay. But we can't, those emotions don't help us solve it, but they block us from solving our problems because they're complex.
Yeah.
They're complex and it's not just what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
It's not just this moment. There's a whole story. And if the struggle between me and you, then okay, I can be angry with you because you have this religious belief or this label, you're Jewish or Palestinian or whatever you. And then so I'm going to hate you because I don't know who you are. And so you hate me, and so we kill each other, and our families kill each other, and then the battle goes on forever. Or I can say, let me get to know you.
Mm.
And I can say, I really want to know you. I want to know more about you. And you say, yeah, so you can find things to get me with and say, I want you to know I respect you too much. I wouldn't do that. That's not what this is about. But I believe that the two of us together can accomplish much more than the two of us against each other. And suddenly you feel something from me, and what you're feeling is love. It doesn't mean I want to marry you,
Hmm.
but it's agape. It's that love of humanity. It's the love of nature. It's the love of everything that exists that we can find. It's like a food that you wouldn't touch, that you wouldn't taste, and one day you taste it and you go, oh, this is pretty good. Hmm. If we allow ourselves to truly know the world that we live in, instead of trying to control it or frighten it or run away from it, then we find that we can have that love. And if you feel that, and something in you says, okay, well, I'll share something from me and I'll hear that. And I'll say, wow, I had a similar experience. And you go, really? And I'll tell you my experience and you say, whoa, that's true. Before long, we're going off and having a beer together
Hmm.
and there's no more war. But therefore, the arms manufacturers didn't get to make any money. The people who build the battleships and the planes and the people who write the stories to get people infuriated, they can't make any more money. It's not making any money to love the people that are around you. Whereas if you can make all of that money, then okay, so then you build your towers and you build your fancy things and you have a fancy home and you let the poor people suffer and that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So it is then if we have that openness to each other, and I as a physician, because I had that openness with people, they would travel with me to those issues in their lives.
Mm.
I had one story of a woman who had come to see me because she had this belief that she was ugly. She was not ugly. She was a fairly good-looking woman, actually, but she wasn't ugly. And she just was is just torn up by this. And so I went back with her through time, through all the times that she felt, not all, but many of the times she felt ugly, so as to define that emotion that was behind her belief. And I said, now let's go back to the first time you ever felt that way. And she went back to her birth experience.
Wow.
Uh, and this was early in my career, and well, okay, this may be a fantasy in her mind, but if she believes it and I can help her deal with it, then she will be more healthy afterwards. So we went through it. She's born, and her mother, they hold her up to her mother, and her mother says, "Oh my God, she's ugly." Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a baby right after birth. The head's all stretched out like that. They're covered with this slimy slime. They've got vernix caseosa, like cream cheese on their head, and hair, lanugo growing all over them. And she was a simple woman, and that's what she thought, apparently. And she says, "My God, she's ugly." Anyway, the woman came out of it, and she was very much helped, and she did well with having been understanding of her mother. Okay, maybe mother thought that, but of course she'd never seen a baby be born before. But the woman wasn't satisfied. She said, my mother is the only person who's always told me I was beautiful. Every day she practically told me I was beautiful, and that could not have possibly been a real memory. But she couldn't help it. She went home, called her mother on the phone. And she said, Mother, when I was born, did you say, oh my God, she's ugly? And there was silence. And her mother said, Dr. Pritchard promised me he'd never tell anybody that. Who did you hear it from? That was a secret.
Mm.
And of course, the mother had tried to correct that problem by telling her every day how beautiful she was. But all the infant inside of her could hear the tone of her mother saying, oh my God, she's ugly. And now my mother's lying to me and telling me that I'm beautiful, and so forth. So you have these memories that are back inside of you. And if you can make peace with that inner part of you, then you lose this chronic state of stress. I'm not talking about, oh my God, here comes I'm late for the bus. No, it's like what we do that keeps us awake, that makes us worry, that stops us from just sit down and don't think anything for 2 minutes. 30 thoughts will come, the bills that you owe, who you're supposed to call on the phone, what the weather's going, because we're trained to
Yeah.
be in this but the moment you get into a deep state of relaxation, then it opens up the higher part of your mind. And suddenly the woman says, oh my gosh, that's what my mother, oh, she's been suffering also. She calls up her mother, says, I absolutely forgive you, mother. I totally understand it. She just pours out this love to her mother because now she understands because she can see it. So what I began to realize is that when people relax deeply and they take a look at what has been disturbing them in a certain way, you realize that what you're behaving is according to an algorithm that's within you. You do a lot of worrying, there's an algorithm, there's a program in you says it's better for you to keep worrying. If you're obsessive compulsive, it's a thing in your that you've learned that says you'd better check the lock on your door at least 10 times before you leave. And every time you walk down 10 steps, you have to step back up ones. And you're doing this, or the simple things that we do over and over that are not useful to us. So you can get to that quiet place, and then you can peacefully rehearse in your mind doing things the way that your higher mind says you can do it. I would say a person who goes back and and sees that child. One person I saw who had really, really bad allergies, especially hay fever to grasses, molds, and things like that. And his sensitizing event when he was like 4 years old, and he lived on a farm, and he was learning to be a farmer, and then there was a something needed to be welded, so they were welding it. So the father wanted to take him over and show him the welding, how cool this was. And this child, when he saw this guy dressed in this incredible monster costume with this metal plate in front of his eyes, and then in his hand was this horrible machine that's showing out this incredibly bright light, and he's afraid. And the father says, "No, no, come on, it's okay." And no, 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 don't take me. Oh, Daddy, no, 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 don't take me. Okay, because he is at this hyper place
Mm-hmm.
of anxiety at that time. And what he said, yeah, all around the fields had just been mowed. So there's fresh allergens in the air. So the body, when it goes into stress, it looks for anything it might be. And the body says, maybe these foreign proteins are what's causing this terrible distress, because a monkey mind doesn't really know what's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
it creates antibodies to these proteins that are in your body, but you can't produce an antibody to something like that. You produce something called a haploid, and the haploid is what brings on the histamine that causes your allergic reaction. So this body, whenever he's in a stressful place, he gets these terrible allergy attacks
Mm.
because it brings on the haploids, and that creates that same thing that it creates that the allergy that happens over and over again. So what I figured was, and I started, these were cassettes in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So I created them on cassettes where I would use my relaxing voice and guide people into a relaxed state. And in that relaxed state, I have them, because now their higher mind is available, is to look at the situation in their life and to see what would be a better solution to it, and to visualize themselves taking that solution. So a person who never exercises and their body isn't healthy and they're gaining weight, if they go to that place and look over their higher mind, they say, "Oh my God, man, I can be so much more. All I've got to do is spend another hour a day exercising and eat the right foods. Yeah, I can do that." And then they visualize themselves doing it, and it changes the patterns in their life. And I put this on a cassette, then later on CDs, and now you can just download it right from right from your computer or right onto your telephone. And now you repeatedly listen to this,
Mm-hmm.
because every time you listen to it, it programs your mind further and further in that direction. Just the same way as if you do exercises, you get a strong muscle. When you do the mental exercise, then it strengthens that mental muscle to do the thing that you're wanting it to do. But now you're not being guided by an illiterate monkey mind, but you're guided by this higher part of your mind. And then you begin to have an appreciation for what's going on up here. You understand because you can abstract, and you can understand it's not really you doing it.
Mm.
All you're doing is channeling the energy that's coming through, and that you're opening up to what? We can imagine that there's a great spirit. There's a spirit that moves through all things. There's something sacred. There are those moments in our lives when we said, "Oh, this is not an accident." You know, when you go over to call somebody on the phone and it rings just before you pick it up, and they're there to tell you the answer to the question that you're going to ask them. Or you can see that a sunset that's magical and something, it's very personal when it happens, and we'll call it a holy moment or a spiritual experience, or maybe we have it in church, or maybe we have it while praying or meditating, because we create a receptive, or we enter a receptive environment where we can actually perceive higher thoughts, higher than the monkey minds is, okay, what can I do you for?
Hmm.
But instead, let me receive. Instead of my being upset that I'm so short and that my breasts are so small, or that I'm so fat and my breasts are too large, or whatever it is, I accept myself the way I am because it's the only thing that I can possibly be. And I accept the world the way it is because it can't be any different from how it is at this moment.
Hmm.
Or else it wouldn't be this moment anymore, would it be? And we have to have a moment or we don't exist.
Yeah.
And so I accept the world the way it is, and I feel such gratitude for having eyes that can see colors, and the voice that I can sing with, and that the breezes blow through, and that the birds sing songs, and that there are people who love me, and that there's a dog who can't wait for me to get home from work. I mean, there's so many things to feel gratitude for.
Hmm.
Suddenly you feel full. And when you feel full, it's hard for you to feel cheated. It's hard for you to feel angry because you don't need anything else because you're already full. There's nothing you need to be afraid about because everything that you've ever needed has been laid in front of you. Except that what you're doing now is you're willing to open yourself to receive the gifts. And you do that by quieting the monkey mind and by opening to the higher levels of your thought. And I do that by guiding people through imagery.
Hmm.
Listen to a good song, a good poem, and it really takes you somewhere, like the strength of the team or nine or crew is not the strength of the star. It's what the body together can do that
Hmm.
carries the victory far. So you shall give your might to the rest to bring the whole team through. And then, at the time of your single test, he will give his strength to you. The team, will give their strength to you. And you go, wow, yeah, that's true. And suddenly you're looking at the team in a different way. It's not how many shots that I can make, but how many shots can I help all of us to make? And so we learn how to think in a different way by listening to poetry, listening to music, or listening to the guided imagery. And so that is what I gave to people for so many years, individuals in my office. And then I figured out how I can package it so that people who haven't even seen me can buy them. And I've just got a huge stack of letters for people saying, thank you so much. You've changed my life so much. I had chronic cystic fibrosis, and now this is better. And I had gallstones, and now the gallstones are gone. And it's like, and I'm sitting here going, holy moly, how did they get those gallstones to go away? I don't know. I just showed them how to open up to their strength and their ability to be whole. And when you are whole, then you're busy doing what you came to earth to do. And sometimes that means giving your life for a greater cause. It means dedicating yourself, whatever it is, because then you feel fulfilled. And you say, yeah, I'm not a rich person, but I have brought so much good to so many people that I feel overwhelmed with riches, in fact, inside. And then when I look at the guys who are the richest people in the world, who are now parading in front of us on television, Do I want to change places with that guy? No, no. I'd rather not be a billionaire if I have to live that kind of life and do the kind of things that are being done to other people because I'm so busy trying to scrape a few more nickels for myself rather than for that starving kid down there on the corner. I don't want to be that. I want to be someone that has those letters that say how much I've done for them.
Mm. That's beautiful. We're talking with Emmett Miller, Dr. Emmett Miller, and drmiller.com is the website we want you to go to. You can get more information. Check out those audio files. I think they will be really beneficial for you, as well as the books that he has written. Deep Healing is one of them. The essence of mind body medicine. And we encourage you also to go to the website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan along with Dr. Emmett Miller. And Doctor, I want to thank you for sharing the things that you have. I think that they're very beneficial for all of us. Yours truly included, as I've often said to folks, this program that I do on a regular basis is my therapy too. So
Mm,
I'm learning and trying to grow and change and deal with getting rid of some of those conditions I know that are generated from the stress.
mhm.
My mother has told me about our the hereditary aspects of high blood pressure and high blood sugar, and my response to that, not so much directly to her, but to myself, is I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't care if it is hereditary. I don't want it. So it's now time to deal with the root cause, not the symptoms, but the root
Yeah,
cause. And you have helped us to do that. I thank you so much for your input here on the program today.
good. So,
And
shall I leave you with an experience for today?
absolutely, I will take that. And then after that, I have three final questions for you. But please go ahead.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so for everybody, I just want to just give you a little bit of a taste of what I'm talking about. So, find a comfortable place to be in, sitting or lying down, relaxed, so that your body's not having to do anything to support you. And then choose a point off in the distance to focus your eyes upon. And as you look at that point, notice that the only point that you can see clearly in the whole room is the point that your eyes are looking at. Everything else fades off into a blur, and that's the way it's supposed to be. This is called focusing your mind, and it is a function of your prefrontal cortex, what's known as the brain's brain, the highest level of your mind, focusing on that point. And soon you slip into kind of a daydreaming state where your eyes are focused on that point, but your mind isn't. You're just sort of daydreaming, and let that happen because there's nothing outside that you need to see at this moment. And so you can let your eyelids close, let them fall closed. And behind your eyelids, let your eyes gently roll upward until you're looking upward toward the back of your forehead. You're really looking up into the highest level of your mind because that's where we're focusing from. And imagine that you can see the word relax. Relax, as though it's written on a board, on a screen, on the back of your forehead. Now, as you think that word relax, notice the relaxation in your eyelids growing greater until they feel heavy. So heavy they don't want to open at all. When you have that feeling of heaviness in your eyelids, test them a little bit. And as you do, let that relaxation you have in your eyelids flow throughout the rest of your body. Or imagine that it's like ripples flowing outward from a stone thrown into the still surface of a quiet pond. Ripples of relaxation flowing through your scalp, through all the muscles of your face. Your upper and lower teeth may separate slightly as your jaw muscle relaxes. Your neck and your shoulders relax. Relaxation flows down through your arms and your wrists and your hands. And as it reaches the tips of your fingers, you may feel a kind of a tingling or warmth. And when you do, take a deep breath in and draw the relaxation from your fingertips up into the center of your chest. And as you let that breath out, let it be a feeling of letting go completely. And let the air do the breathing for you, just as it does when you're deeply asleep at night. The air enters and leaves, and each breath in breathes in peace and relaxation. Each breath out empties your body of tension. Feel the letting go with each breath out. Feel the rising and falling of your abdomen with each breath. A gentle massage of relaxation to all your internal organs. And let the relaxation flow down through your hips, your pelvis, your thighs, your knees, your legs and ankles, all the way down to the tips of your toes. More and more relaxed, more and more comfortable with each breath. Good. And anytime any unnecessary thoughts come along, you can let those thoughts go. Think to yourself, there's nowhere I have to go at this moment. There's nothing I have to do at this moment. There's no emergency. There's no problem that needs to be solved at this moment. And so whenever an unnecessary thought comes along, imagine it's like words written on a blackboard in your mind's eye. Remember the relaxation in your eyelids as you gently test your eyelids. Imagine drawing a wet eraser across your mental blackboard, erasing the unnecessary thoughts and sending another wave of relaxation through your body. And if that same thought or any other thought comes along, simply erase it in the same way. Thoughts about the past are not needed. The past, not even 1 second of it, can ever come back again. You don't need it at this moment. The future doesn't exist. The future's in some place you're going. The place that future is a place that you're creating. And if you allow yourself to simply be in this moment and visualize in your mind's eye a really beautiful place that you can go to. Could be a tropical island. It might be a church or a chapel or a beautiful sunny beach or a garden. Could be a mountaintop, wherever would feel really relaxing and comfortable to you. Visualize that place now and allow yourself to be at that place. See the colors and shapes around you, the movements, hear the sounds in the air, smell the fragrances, and feel the texture of anything that you may be touching in this beautiful place. Feel the peace as it flows into your body. And here, while you're present and open, going to ask you to remember a time in the past when you were with someone that you loved. You could have been an infant in your mother's arms, could be walking with your dad or frolicking with your brother. It might be falling in love as a young person, might be seeing your first child being born, or being with your mate or lover, or a wise teacher. Think of the most loving person that you can think of now and bring them to you in your special place. And recall 1 or 2 or 3 of those special moments that you had with this person. And if you choose to allow yourself to experience the love of a higher power or a higher being that you feel deeply in love with, visualize that person, that being, that energy, that spirit here with you now. Feel the love. See that person's beautiful face, their eyes. Feel the touch of this being. Even if it's a dog or cat, feel the love as you would if you were right there with them right now. Open your heart and let in the love as you let the air breathe for you, emptying your lungs with each breath out. Then you sink into that little pause after you breathed out. And you feel that little spark of energy that starts each new breath. And think of it as a gift of love. Begins each new breath. And feel that love as it flows from you to that person or those people that you think of when you open yourself to love. Even if it's only one or two, or even if it's 10 or 20. And if your heart opens that wide, it can open to even more. Feel the love as you feel it. Feel it flow into you from your higher center, as if there's high above you a guardian angel that sends down a ray of love that enters right through the top of your head, enters the highest part of your mind, the spiritual part of your mind, flows down into your heart like a golden light, and let your heart carry it throughout your body. Let it radiate through your hands, through your fingertips, through your feet. Imagine that love can flow out through your tongue, through your voice, through everything that you do. And visualize yourself taking yourself into that really beautiful place that you want to go to. A place where you can really be and give your love. Picture yourself in the future being a person who's always ready to give love, to be love, and to see and experience love. And that you can let negatives just slip by and let yourself see the beauty of the creation around you. And you can go back to this experience anytime you wish, just by allowing yourself to close your eyes. Go to this special place where you bring your loved ones to you. And each time you do, you strengthen your connection with your love and to that spirit that moves through all things and to that higher being. And now, or when you're ready, take a deep breath in, and as you let it out, allow your eyelids to open. Enjoy the colors that you're able to see. Enjoy your breathing and feeling your body wide awake. Stretch and move. And take a few moments and notice how comfortable you feel.
Well, Dr. Emmett Miller, thank you very much for that, and thank you for giving us so much time here on the program for the fourth time. We hope you'll come back again to have further discussions on these different subjects in regards to
Great.
what you are passionate about, and that is helping people helping people in the aspect of empowering them to heal, to grow, to reach their full potential.
I got to tell you one more thing.
Please.
People go to drmiller.com. At the bottom of your page of the page, you'll see that you can click and choose. I have a free newsletter that's going out, and my current period of newsletters going is out as I'm teaching people how to find peace within themselves, how to create peace in the community, and my goal is to bring peace to the world. We're at a turning point now where we're awakening to the fact that so many thousands of years human beings have lived by fighting and subjugating each other. Now is a time where we have all the tools that we need to change that worldwide. And it's the last thing I want to do before I leave the planet. So go there, take a look. You'll get a great newsletter, and you'll also get free guided imagery showing you how to heal yourself and how to heal your family and the world around you. And there's a different one that comes every month. drmiller.com. Thanks so much for sharing with me.
Absolutely. And I thank you folks for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thank you so much for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.